Welcome everybody to uSTADIUM Fantasy Live. I am Chris. That is Stefan Birschbaums representing the uSTADIUM fam, here to bring you the exclusive fantasy content to help you dominate your Sundays. Before we get on with anything, like the stream, subscribe to the uSTADIUM YouTube page so we can help you kill it on Sunday. Stefan, how you doing, brother?
I'm excited, honestly, man. I'm glad to be back. I've been a lot of traveling, so I'm finally back where I want to be. Doing the show got me excited, too. It's my first time, so it's a pretty good Sunday so far.
You were in Vegas, right? You got to see the Allegiant Stadium,
oh
the
my
Roomba,
God,
as some call it, the Death Star, as other people call it.
It was beautiful, honestly. Yeah, it's a sight worth seeing. It's like when you see it on Monday Night Football, it gives you one thing, but when you see it with your eyes in person, you're like, that's a beautiful stadium.
Did you get in there at all?
No, it was too early in the day. We tried to look around.
Gotcha.
I was able to see where they light the torch, like with the glass in it areas.
Yeah.
I saw around it at night and during the day. It's polarizing as an arena.
It's definitely on my football stadium bucket list. That's for sure.
If I got to check that off myself, so I have a little list as well. So
right on, man. Right on. Any games you're excited to watch this week, heading into week 4, quarter of the way through the season? I mean, we wait so long for it to get here, and it seems like it goes by so fast. Are there any matchups you're looking to pick apart for DFS reasons or anything like that?
Oh yeah, I'm looking at, of course, one of the biggest ones, and I'll talk about him later in the show, is the Chubb Hubbard. That guy is cheap. He's also going to be a nice workhorse. I think even Sam Darnold stacking him with that, and a little bit of CD Lamb. So I'm looking forward to that Carolina Panthers Dallas Cowboys game, a little bit of that Bucks Patriots game later on, of course. But I want to see some good games. I got a few DFS lineups that I'm looking at, a few that I'm still tweaking. So before that 1 o'clock hits, I'm
always tweaking those DFS lineups.
It's the depth of me or it's the success of me. You never know how it's gonna go.
Right? So you always end up kicking yourself too when you second guess that one player that ends up going off. Happens to me week in and week out, man.
Exactly. It's the pain we all fantasy guys love to go through, but then hate to see at 1 o'clock.
Yeah, exactly. Let's get to some key outs for fantasy purpose this week. San Francisco running back Elijah Mitchell is out again this week. Wide receiver from the Pittsburgh Steelers, Chase Claypool, is out this week. Rob Gronkowski, man, I was really hoping to see Rob Gronkowski go off against the Patriots, man. I was really hyped for that one.
You got cold feet, I think.
Yeah, cold feet, a little case of broken ribs or something like that. It was a mean hit, man. It was a mean hit. But and then there was one more, Rashad Bateman, who's been out since the start of the season. Many were expecting him to be called up this week, but unfortunately, it looks like we're waiting until week 5 for Rashad Bateman.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I wanted him to come back, but I figured stay a little bit longer, and we'll see what he can do with Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I'm hyped. When he comes back, is he going to be the guy to own in that wide receiver room?
If I'm in a 12-man league, 14-man, he should probably be taken already, sitting IR. But if I'm in a 12-man league, I'm stashing him now because I think at the size that he's at, 6'4", they have a tall receiver, complement Marquis Brown. I think he'll have a nice second half to the season if they bring him back smart.
Right on. I like it. Let's get to some questions here. Kevin Clark, Devonta Smith or Chase Edmonds versus the Rams. You got one you like over the other here?
You know what? That Chiefs secondary doesn't wow me. So Devonta Smith would be the one if it's a flex. Chase Edmonds is not a bad RB2. I've had him in a few leagues. In this case, if it's PPR, I say Edmonds. If it's say half point, I'll go Devonta Smith. I think Eagles bounce back a little bit against this Chiefs defense because last week was abysmal. So they have to go nowhere but up from this point.
I like it. For me, yeah, okay. So I see what you're saying there. For me, the pick is Chase Edmonds over Devonta, just based on his floor. Good luck, Kevin. New life. Good morning, guys. What are your thoughts on Lev Bell and also half PPR? Dawson Knox or Mike Gesicki? I'll take the tight end question here. I got Gesicki. He saw a volume increase when Jacoby Brissett took over center. I like Dawson Knox as well. I just think he's a little more TD dependent, and I like Gesicki's volume. So start Mike Gesicki there. Thoughts on Lev Bell? I mean, I don't trust any running back right now outside of Lamar Jackson in that Baltimore backfield. So start him if you absolutely need to, but with caution. Let's see what they're going to do with that situation.
No, yeah, I agree. Le'Veon Bell is Le'Veon Bell, but Harbaugh came out and said there is no definitive RB1 in our team. Everyone's going to touch the ball. So start at your own risk, but hey, you never know.
If you got to pick one running back to start out of that Baltimore backfield, is there one that you prefer over the other?
I still prefer Tyson Williams.
I think
Latavius Murray is the vulture. I call him the vulture of the team, but they got Devonta Freeman, Lev Bell. They have all-stars from 4 years ago past. So it's bound to be someone different weeks. He doesn't really care hard about your fantasy team. He just wants to win games.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Doom Sports, what's up, boys? Ayuk and Sermon going to be ready to start in fantasy anytime soon. Ayuk, out of the two, man, Ayuk's been pretty much the most disappointing wide receiver this fantasy season. High expectations from the community in general for Brandon Ayuk, and is completely disappointed. As for Sermon, he's another guy. Start at your own risk, right?
Yeah, he's more of like a wait. If you have to start him. If you're desperate, But if you have someone else that you can start over him, Sermon's going to be a guy that you're going to want to have, almost how Jonathan Taylor had a second half of the great season, like a playoff guy for you. Stash him now. Don't cut him. He's going to have a little slow start, but I think he'll pay dividends for you come playoff time, come, week 13, 14, when you need that one key win. He could be the guy. Ayuk is also a guy you want to take your time on. He was hurt. He wasn't in the doghouse, they said, but he was hurt. So they eased him back in. And it looks like, I think if he does good this year, you still bench him, or this week, but if he does good, start him next week. He's one of those guys you bench to see if he does good for next week.
Yeah, I like that take. All right, Steph, let's get into some start sits of our own for the week. I'm going to fire off my first start. Cleveland Brown wide receiver, Odell Beckham Jr. Let's face it, OBJ came back last week, and he didn't disappoint fantasy owners. I wasn't high on him coming into the week last week. He led the team in air yards, and he had a great target share percentage with 31%, something you really want to see out of a wide receiver that you're starting. He caught the ball 5 times, 77 yards, and now has a decent matchup against the Vikings, who through the first 3 weeks in each game let a wide receiver go over 100 yards. DK Metcalf did it with 6 catches, 107 yards and a touchdown. Rondale Moore did it with 114 and a touchdown, and Jamar Chase did it with 5 for 101 and a touchdown. OBJ this week has the opportunity to be a low-end wide receiver 1. My week 4 projections for Mr. Beckham Jr., 6 catches, 80 yards, and a touchdown.
I like that.
Yeah, me too, man. I'm excited for OBJ this week. That's for sure.
And I'm glad they waited a week to bring him back. Like they didn't like. That's what I'm like. When injuries happen, you wait a week, get the guy 100%. Doesn't care if he misses one game. And look, OBJ, no Jarvis Landry, could be eaten for the next few weeks. So
I like it.
It's one of my favorite ones for the week.
All right, we got another question here from New Life. Your thoughts on Deontay Johnson, Dalvin Cook, playing only. Asking because it seems like they are coming back early from their injuries. I'm a little weary on Dalvin Cook this week. I don't know what your take is on him. He is coming back from the missed week last week, but he's one of those guys where you can't sit him just based on what he can do, but you want to sit him because most likely he's going to have a pitch count kind of thing, right? So it's tricky there. And with Deontay, I'm starting Deontay just because Claypool's out there and he's a target monster in that offense. What do you think?
Honestly, I agree with what you're saying. It does seem a little early, but it seems like Dalvin Cook has a storyline. He had the injuries in the beginning of his career. Then he got better. Then he always tends to miss that one game where you can start Alexander Madison and be like, oh yeah, this is why I drafted him. And then he comes back next week and rushes for 30 carries, 200 yards, and a touchdown. So Dalvin Cook, I'm starting. Deontay Johnson, I'm also starting. Like you said, Chase Claypool's out. It's going to be the Juju Smith-Schuster show and the Deontay Johnson 15 reception game that everyone's all over Twitter talking about. And this man just gets receptions. So I'm starting both of them. everywhere I'm going, except for DFS because they're a little pricey probably still. But
yeah, high end for sure. All right, Steph, you got to start for us. Oh, wait, one more question here from Doom Sports. Waddle, Ayuk, or Rondale Moore? I'll let you take this one, buddy.
Okay. It's gonna have to be Ayuk, I think. With Kittle also being kind of out, like not out, but he's hurt, the calf injury. He hasn't practiced much this week. I would go Ayuk, Rondale Moore because Jalen Ramsey will be on DeAndre Hopkins, so I think that he shadows him and he's pretty much covered. AJ Green, Kirk are going to be there, but I think Rondale Moore could be his slot guy. Waddle's a third guy. I think there's too many targets on that team with Devontae Parker, Gesicki. You've got even Gaskins on there as a backfield, and you got Will Fuller. So if I'm ranking them, Ayuk, Rondale Moore, Jalen Waddle.
Yeah, I like that. I like that take. You got to start for us, Stefan?
Yes, it's one of the most obvious ones, but it's a one that if you can get him in your lineup, you're starting Chubb Hubbard. It's the defense and that Dallas that defensive line in Dallas is really getting hit with some injuries. I heard Michael Parsons was also on the injury report. They lost DeMarcus Lawrence for a little bit. So, like, if you're going to start Hubbard, this would be the week. This week, next week, right until McCaffrey comes back. There are so many carries, receptions that McCaffrey took from them that Hubbard could easily, I think, can attain as well. You'll see some Royce Freeman, but Hubbard's the guy, I think, the start of the week, rise running back.
Yeah, we all saw what Mike Davis did in that role last year, right? So you could definitely tell it's the role and not the player because Mike Davis this year is caca. So let's get into a sit. If we have any questions, just pop them up and we'll go as we go. It's your splash. So I'm gonna get into a sit. This one's a big one. Marquis Brown, he did have a ton of drops last week. We were talking about it before the show. The guy could have had a glorious week for fantasy owners. Thankfully, there is no minus points for drops because he'd end up in my doghouse for sure. I mean, other than Sterling Shepard in week 1, the past 2 weeks, the wide receivers have not seen good output for fantasy owners versus the Denver Broncos. Marvin Jones put up 55. Corey Davis put up 41. Granted, that was versus rookie quarterbacks back-to-back, but I'm not expecting Hollywood to have a good day. Broncos have only allowed an average of 13 fantasy points per game to the wide receiver. My week 4 projections for Marquis Brown, 5 receptions, 50 yards. He's got about a 50% chance of getting a touchdown. I got him at 0.5 for a TD. That Denver Broncos DB backfield, it's ruthless, man. They can take the ball away. I have a feeling that the Baltimore Ravens are going to try to keep the Denver Broncos offense off the field this game and try to run it down their throats. So that's playing into a big part of my reasoning why I'm sitting Marquis Brown this week. Steph, you got a big sit for us this week?
Yeah, I got a Myles Gaskin sit. I don't know. I don't trust the back. There are a few backfields I don't trust. This is one of them. It's got Gaskin, you've got Ahmed, and you've got Malcolm Brown. Malcolm Brown seems to be playing the Jordan Howard role of the last season where he takes that 1-yard touchdown off the gut. Gaskin
Murray role.
Exactly. my infamous vulture role.
Yeah,
the guys that you don't want to see that you like, whose number is that? But no, this is not this guy. So it just doesn't look good for me in the running back situation in Miami. I'd rather go with one of their pass catchers, even though they have a nice, room of receivers and a tight end. But Gaskin just doesn't seem the volume. It just seems like Malcolm Brown could just do almost as much as he could, maybe a little bit better passing, because we've seen Malcolm Brown in offense like the LA Rams when he was looking like an RB3, a flex option. So my one big sit of the week is Myles Gaskin. If you could find someone better, do it. If not, I hope he gets you 10 points. So
at least get you to that floor, right?
Exactly, right.
I like it. Craps teacher, who would you rather stash in a 12-team half-point league, Will Fuller or Terrace Marshall? I like Will Fuller here as the stash. Once Tua gets back, he can move the ball downfield. Terrace Marshall's usage hasn't been that great for the Carolina Panthers offense. You got one guy that you would rather have over the other. Are you a Terrace Marshall guy over a Will Fuller guy?
I like Will Fuller. I've had him many times. He is dependent. I mean, he's not bad. He just stays healthy, stay up the PEDs, stuff like that. So, honestly though, if it's like a dynasty league, I'd take Terrace Marshall. I think
Mhm.
one injury away, not saying there should be one if, say, Robbie goes down or someone in that receiving core. He's that big body threat, the guy who can get the ball deep. He doesn't have any volume because he's the third receiver. I will go Will Fuller as of right now, but Terrace Marshall is going to be something I think going forward soon.
Yeah, Marshall does see more of a target share in that offense than Robbie Anderson. So that's a little promising, but yeah, I think I'm stashing Will Fuller there. New life, Hollywood Brown or Devonta Smith in a half-point PPR. Give me Devonta Smith there. Give me Devonta Smith there in the half-point PPR. I think he'll end up having a better day than Hollywood Brown.
Yeah, same. I even said it earlier when we had the Devonta Smith or the other one. I was like, Devonta Smith half-point PPR is the one you want to go with.
Yeah.
Hollywood Brown could. I mean, if it's a full point, Hollywood. It's a half point. I'm taking Devonta Smith.
Yep, I like that. Thank you, Karen. All right, I'm gonna get into another start here. Tight end start for me. We just talked about him, Mike Gesicki. He's the one player that saw a huge uptick in that offense once Jacoby Brissett took the role under center. 12 targets, 10 catches, 86 yards in that offense last week. Now, tight ends versus the Colts haven't really fared that well versus their defense. They've only, I think, averaged about 6 points per game. But if there's a guy just based on volume, and if you're a fantasy owner that's streaming tight ends, Mike Gesicki is going to be the guy for you this week. Brissett, the last time he was a starting quarterback, he fed the tight ends in Indy. Eric Ebron and Jack Doyle had a target share of over 30% in the offense that he ran. So he looks in the middle of the field. He's looking for that big body. Mike Gesicki, I'm starting him again just based on volume. The tight end landscape is pretty bare out there other than the top few guys. So if you are one of the owners that are streaming tight ends, Mike Gesicki is a guy that you're going to want to stream this week. I have some of my projections for Mikey G in week 4, 6 receptions, 75 yards, and a touchdown.
I like that.
Yeah,
especially
I'm hoping. Yeah, especially with Brissett, right?
You read my mind exactly.
Yeah.
You just did it different.
Maybe not. Brissett, yeah, give me Brissett just based on history.
Exactly.
Mike Bagdalian, Chris Carson, Edwards-Helaire, or Corey Davis as a flex.
That's a good problem to have.
Yeah, very rich at the flex. I like it.
Honestly, I'm gonna go bold with this. Edwards-Helaire against the Eagles. I think Chris Carson second, Corey Davis third.
Yeah, I like that. I'm good with the volume that Edwards has against the that he's gonna have against the Eagles here. Chris Carson and Corey Davis. Yep, sounds good to me, man. I'm a bot. Need 2 wide receivers and a flex. A-Rob, Scary Terry, Deontay Johnson, Antonio Brown, Hubbard, and Patterson. I think 2 wide receivers. I'll go 1 and you go 1 here, Stefan. I'm gonna pick the easy one and go Scary Terry. I'll let you decide between A-Rob, Deontay, and AB.
I'll take Deontay Johnson.
Yeah, and then I'd probably go in Hubbard in the flex there just based on what his floor is going to be in volume alone. Give me Chuba Hubbard in that situation.
I'm not trying to copy you, but it's just a situation because he was the start of the week for me. So I'm going to copy with that and say Hubbard as well.
Yeah, A-Rob has been a bit shaky. Patterson, I still don't know what to do with that situation in Atlanta. But yeah, so Hubbard, Scary Terry, and Deontay Johnson. Thanks, I'm a bot. All right, I'm going to get into another sit for me. I'm sitting a wide receiver out of the Carolina Panthers. It is not DJ Moore. It is Robbie Anderson. The loss of Darius Sanders, Christian McCaffrey could result in more of a target share for Robbie Anderson. A lot of people were hoping that Robbie Anderson would see an uptick in targets. I, for one, traded for him before the game last week, and he absolutely let me down. I think he ended up with like 1 fantasy point, something like that.
It was like an 8-yard catch, I think. Or something.
Yeah, it was absolutely brutal, but just broke me. He has a declining snap share through the first 3 weeks, Week 1, he had 3 targets. Week 2, he had his best in terms of targets with 6. And then week 3, he saw 2 versus a Houston Texans team where most people thought he was going to go off. I think I started him in a handful of DFS lineups with the same hopes that Robbie Anderson, based on his price, was going to produce. And he let me down, man. I did not like what I saw.
Cut ties with him, though? Now, like, if he has another bad game, are you going to bench him or do you cut him? Or
I don't know if I'd cut him, but I think like this week and moving forward, I bench him. I need to see him be involved in that offense. I think he's seeing a 10% target share. Oof. Like we said, Terrace Marshall's seeing it, not much more, but he is seeing a 13% target share. So I'm not for one starting Robbie Anderson until I see a little bit more out of that offense. This will probably be the week where he goes off, of course, when I have him on the bench.
How fantasy goes.
Exactly, right? But my week 4 projections for Robbie Anderson, 4 receptions, 55 yards, good for 7.5 half-point PPR points. Sit the man.
I can't argue with that guy. The numbers speak volume. So.
Oh man, it's terrible. It's terrible. I don't believe in A-Rob. It's not that I don't believe in A-Rob. It's that I don't believe in the offense. If there's a game that I think that he's going to produce, it could be against this Browns team that just saw Marquis Brown. The Lions team that just saw Marquis Brown burn them play after play. So if there is a game that he could do it at home versus the Lions, this could be it. I believe in A-Rob. He is an elite wide receiver. He just needs a producer in the quarterback spot. Now, Justin Fields is starting. Do you think this is the get-right game for that Chicago offense?
I think it's a get-right game. I don't want to spoil anything right now because
Gotcha.
I've got some intake on the Chicago team.
Yeah, you do. Gotcha.
So, I mean, if Justin Fields could be Justin Fields at Ohio State, yeah. If we have to see Andy Dalton again, I don't know. I think that they go with Justin Fields, and he just has to force the rock. They just force A-Rob the rock, force Darnell Mooney the rock, Cole Kmet, David Montgomery. Get those guys rolling because that offense is almost too good to spoil, even though they're not the greatest offense, but with the right quarterback, they all could eat.
Yep, I agree with that take. All right, Stefan, give us a sit. We can get this question here, and then you give us a sit. Christian Colazzo, Kenny Golladay or Allen Robinson in a full PPR league. Darius Slayton's out. Sterling Shepard's out. The Giants are facing the New Orleans Saints. Is there a guy that you want to start over the other here?
Honestly, it's going to be just because of the matchup. I'd have to go Allen Robinson. Kenny Golladay just, to me, doesn't look like Kenny Golladay. I mean, with Shepard out last week, Slayton, they were all exited the game. You thought, okay, he's going to do something. He just didn't. He didn't do anything that wowed me. Allen Robinson just is an offense that just can't get any worse, I feel like, than they are. They had 6 net yards last week.
Yeah, it was bad.
I mean, that was bad. So, like I said, Allen Robinson, if you have to start him over Kenny Golladay, I'm going with him by a mile. Kenny Golladay is just going lower and lower in my love-hate list.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that one. For me, Kenny Golladay should see just volume today because everyone else is out. But yeah, I'm starting Allen Robinson versus the Lions over starting Kenny Golladay versus the Saints. Thanks, Christian. All right, Bursch, give us a sit, buddy.
It's a sit every year. It's the Patriots running back room. You don't know what it's going to be. Is it going to be Stevenson? Is it going to be J.J. Taylor? Are we going to have a Damien Harris big game? Is it going to be, I don't know, Janu Smith?
Brandon Bolden,
someone
knows, right? Yeah.
So it's not a safe running back room. If you have to start someone, then start Damien Harris. He's the most seasoned veteran there now. I don't like it. I can't. There's nothing good I can say about it. I mean, I like the Patriots. I would rather go with, say, Jacoby Myers if you have to, but stay away from those running backs because it's going to be ugly, especially against one of the defenses that are really good and stout against the run. It's not a smart move this week. We want to see who defines a role going forward. Is it Harris, J.J. Taylor, or Stevenson? So we'll find out in a week or so, but not right now.
Yeah, I like it. I like the take. I'm not a big fan of starting running backs in that backfield as well. But yeah, if there's one guy, Damien Harris is the guy to start. Nick Hobie, pick 2, Cortland Sutton, Robert Woods, Tim Patrick, or Juju Smith-Schuster. I'm going with Juju Smith-Schuster. And
it's not easy.
Woods hasn't been that great for fantasy owners this year. Playing against Arizona, who always seems to play the Rams pretty good. But those were in the Goff years. Now there's the Stafford years. I'm not liking the usage out of Robert Woods. So give me Cortland Sutton and Juju Smith-Schuster there.
I like that. I'm going to take, I think, a Tim Patrick and a Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yeah.
Only because he's like the second guy. No Hamler, no Judy. So it's just the Tim Patrick and Cortland Sutton show. And then Juju, same situation. Deontay Johnson and him could eat a lot if Big Ben can get his head on right and know how to pass the ball. So
Right on. Yeah, so Sutton or Patrick and then Juju for sure. Thanks, Nick. All right, Stefan, give us a start in the Buffalo backfield. Which one are you starting? We've seen Devin Singletary put up some decent numbers. We've seen Zach Moss put up some decent numbers. Which one are you comfortable starting in that backfield?
So outside of week 1, it's been the Zach Moss show. I never really liked Devin Singletary. He had that one, game, of course, week 1. But I just think Zach Moss is the guy. Zach Moss had 13 carries, 8 carries. He had 3 touchdowns on the season. He looks like the more healthier back, and I think he looks like the more bruising back. Devin Singletary is a great backup, but I think Zach Moss can handle the workload of like 25 carries a game, maybe 3-4 receptions, and just that safety valve that Josh Allen could take with Knox. So it'd be Knox and Moss as the guys, like a dump off guys, up the middle guy. If Josh Allen plays like this and he's feeding Zach Moss, he's going to be a borderline RB3, RB2 at the end of the season. And it's not like the hottest name in fantasy to start Zach Moss as your RB2, but numbers never lie. And he's been nothing but producing numbers the last 2 weeks that he's been healthy. The week 1 he missed, I think, and it wasn't injury. It was just more like a personal thing. But ever since he came back, 3 touchdowns, almost 21 carries in 2 games, and about 4 or 5 receptions. So start Zach Moss. He's going to win you some games, and he could win you with the soft schedule coming later on in the season.
Yeah, he was one of my big 0 RB targets when I drafted that way. So seeing him go off, his red zone usage alone is worth a start. I like the Zach Moss start in the Buffalo backfield. Good job. Good pick, man. I'm going to get into a start. I'm starting wide receiver Corey Davis from the New York Jets versus the Tennessee Titans. After 2 straight disappointing starts, Corey Davis is due for a bounce-back game, and the numbers prove it. He's leading the team in air yards. He's leading the team in target share. Corey Davis is playing a Titans team that has given up the 3rd most fantasy points to the wide receivers. So the Jets face the Carolina Panthers, the Denver Broncos, the New England Patriots, 3 stout defenses. Now they're playing a Tennessee Titans defense that hasn't been that great through the first 3 weeks, especially versus the wide receiver. This is going to be a game that's going to make Jets fans feel good inside, feel a little warm. I know they've been hating on the quarterback back there, the kid, Zach Wilson. So let's see him go off. Let's see what he can do. This is going to be the game that's going to get him right. Start Corey Davis, maybe not as a wide receiver 1. Pop him in your flex. He's going to have a day just based on volume alone. My week 4 projections: 7 receptions, 85 yards, and a touchdown for Corey Davis.
And don't forget, it's a revenge game. He's going to be that
revenge game. Yeah, exactly.
So if you believe in those,
exactly. Elijah Moore is out. Crowder is playing, but we'll see the usage for Crowder there. But I think the connection between Corey Davis and Zach Wilson is gonna boost them up above the other wide receivers in that wide receiver room.
Totally agree with that.
Mike B. So you guys think Allaire over Carson and Corey Davis playing his old team? I think if it's PPR, the usage for Clyde Edwards-Helaire, they have been trying to get him the ball more. You've seen that, even though he's given up the ball a couple of times. Right after he's given up the ball, they do tend to give him the ball right back after that. I think he's got a safer floor over Chris Carson, who could be in a shootout, and then Corey Davis. I'm not opposed to starting Corey Davis. We just talked about starting him, so you can plug him in your lineup. But if I had to pick one guy over the other, for me, it's Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Agreed.
Clap nuts. I'm between starting Jacoby or Christian Kirk at flex full PPR. You got to take on this one. You like one over the other, Bursch?
So I'm just gonna tell you this right from experience. Christian Kirk he's a good guy. He's been hot, honestly, but that defense is good. The Rams secondary is good. They got a lot of good players. You know, Ramsey, Fuller. They can run around. But when I tell you this, the Buccaneers, and I'm in Tampa right now. We have the worst pass defense in the NFL right now. Worse than the Seahawks had last year, and it's just bad. So I'm going Jacoby Myers because he's going to be going against some guys we pulled up from practice squad. Richard Sherman, that's coming off 4 days of practice, that might not even play. Carlton Davis is downgraded to doubtful. And we've lost 3 DBs so far still. So if you're starting one or the other, I'm going Jacoby Myers. I think he'll give you like a 6 for 60 to 80 yards, maybe a touchdown. He might do more, but that's the receiver I want from New England only.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Christian Kirk has a higher opportunity to bust over Boom. So, and Jacoby Myers sees a great target share in that offense. Yeah, start Jacoby Myers. I mean, unless you need the boom, if you need the boom, then maybe Kirk's the way to go. But yeah, I'm rolling with Jacoby Myers in that situation. All right, I just said start Corey Davis. Bursch, you're in Tampa, so this guy kind of sits home with you, or these 3 guys sit home with you. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. I know you're high on AB this week.
Yep.
AB 81. Are you starting him this week, even though he had the one dud, then he missed the week? Are you comfortable plugging AB into your lineup?
If my projections, which are never right, are right, he's supposed to go off. No, I'm kidding. Honestly, I just think Gronk's out. You know, it's kind of a revenge game again for him too, because that's where he was in New England with Tom Brady. True. Of course. But I just think if it's ever no Gronk involved, it's always going to be AB, Mike Evans, Godwin. And the order it's going to go to, I believe, will be Godwin reception-wise, Mike Evans yardage, and then AB boom or bust. But I think more it's a boom than a bust because Tom Brady looks like he's 25. AB looks like the Steelers of AB. Like, they look like they have that connection. I think this will be the game in New England that's like a subtle, like Tom Brady's like, look how good I can do. Look what AB was. Why do we get rid of him? So I'm projecting AB at least 5. Bold prediction, 80 to 90 yards and maybe a touchdown. But I think this will be the game that AB comes back and start him as a flex if you have to receiver 2, but not receiver 1. More of a flex area, less than that. But if you have AB, get him in your lineups because the business is booming tonight.
Booming. I like it. Now, I'm in a situation in one of my leagues where I have Evans and AB. My wide receiver depth is a little light. You think I'm okay starting both of them?
Well, what are your other receivers like?
I got Gabe Davis, Sammy Watkins, Devontae Parker, Nick Westbrook, Heinecke, who might be a good start this week.
Yeah,
so I got to start 3 wide receivers, and then I got to start a wide receiver tight end flex. I mean, I think I got to put them both in, right? Just because of the weight of the game. New England, Tampa Bay, Tom Brady coming back. He's gonna wanna show up.
I think he's gonna throw for at least 3 touchdowns and like 300 yards. And there's no way that Mike Evans. I think Evans, Godwin, and AB will eat regardless. They might not put on like 100 points each, but they're gonna put you like, wow, I can't believe these 3 receivers were able to put minimum over 10 points. So AB has the lowest floor. I give him maybe 15 to 17. I give Mike Evans maybe a 20-point game. I think Godwin will have the better of the game because he seems to be more favorable target to Tom Brady than Evans, because Evans is more just a deep shot, rainbow ball. AB is more like the inside out, the occasional ball, but then Godwin is like the Edelman, Welker, the guy you want a lot of receptions too. But don't be scared starting both of them.
I'm rolling both, buddy. I'm 0-3, so I gotta throw up a prayer there. Yeah, but it hasn't been good, man. My team's been just ravaged by injuries. But what are you gonna do? And underperforming studs. But
a lot of big names on big teams have been 0-3. I've seen a lot, so that's
a story for another day. But so Mike B, thanks for the question again. You guys think DeAndre Swift is an RB2 today? Yes, we're rolling with DeAndre Swift. I think he'll meet the expectations to finish as an RB2.
And Dan Campbell said it.
Yeah.
Unleash DeAndre Swift.
Now, there you go. I like it. So, yeah, start DeAndre. Start him where you got him. Fire him up. I'm going to get into one of my last starts here of the sits of the week. QB Jared Goff versus the Chicago Bears. Away game, Soldier Field. The current over-under for this game is 41.5 points. So the projection for a low-scoring game is in the fold. QBs versus the Bears are averaging 20 points per game. But what tilts that average is the week 1 blow-up of Matt Stafford. They absolutely drubbed the Chicago Bears in that week 1. After that, Joe Burrow went for 14 points. Baker Mayfield scored 18. A game that is leaning towards to be more defensive tilt because of the uncertainty at the quarterback position with both teams. I'm not starting Jared Goff to be that guy for me this week. He's been a decent streaming option the first 2 weeks. Last week, it was a little bit rough for him. He did see some garbage time stuff, but my projections this week for Jared Goff, 235 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. I'm not comfortable starting Jared Goff any lineup. I mean, if you absolutely have to in a 2 QB super flex league and the guy that you have on your bench isn't in a plus or positive matchup, maybe start Jared Goff. I don't think there's going to be much opportunity for garbage time points because I don't see the Chicago Bears being able to get a lead of over 2 to 3 touchdowns. So it's going to be tight. Like you said, they're going to unleash DeAndre Swift. If he just dumps it down all game and DeAndre Swift can eat up the yak and get free, maybe Jared Goff kind of salvages his day. But for me, I'm not comfortable starting Jared Goff this week.
It'll definitely take years off your life watching that game. DeAndre Swift is the only one I'm starting. Like, it's Jamal Williams, DeAndre Swift are the only people, and Hawkinson, that you'll ever start for the Detroit Lions. If you have to think about anyone else, it's going to be gray hairs and years off your life.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I like in DFS, I like Khalif Raymond just based on his usage in that offense. He sees a high amount of targets, but again, it's the Lions, man. It's going to be matchup based. I don't trust much out of the receiving options on that team. Let's move forward, Bursch. Give us your last sit of the week, and then we'll get into some of our bolder sits, our hotter takes before the show ends. I know you got some good ones. I got some good ones. But as for just regular start sits, man, fire the last one off.
It's going to be a Trey Sermon. I don't hate him. I don't love him yet. It's just I think he's a guy that's going to win you a league later on. This backfield's a mess. You don't know who's touching the ball. Elijah Mitchell is out, so that does help him. But running backs in New England, running backs in Tampa, running backs in San Francisco, I stay away from. Trey Sermon this week is one of those guys. If you can find a better option, receiver at your flex, if you're starting him at RB2, I hope he gets you 10 points. That's my minimum for everything. I don't feel comfortable. If there's a better option, I'm going for anything that's better, any potentially better running back. But he's one of my bigger sits of the week.
Yeah, when the fullback, the juice outsnaps you.
and he's a running back in ESPN leagues, so that kind of throws pink into it.
Exactly. So when that guy outsnaps you, when you're scratched at the start of the season, I mean, it's not a good look for Trey Sermon. He was a big hype train guy beginning of the year. He just hasn't produced. Right. He had the fumble and the concussion his first go, and then he's getting outsnapped by Kyle Juszczyk. So, yeah, don't start Trey Sermon this week. But like you said, though, he might be a guy that you want to stash for the second half of the season. But with that, you got Jeff Wilson coming back. Who knows what his usage is going to be? You got Elijah Mitchell in the fold. Who knows, man? Who knows with that San Francisco 49 IRs? Who knows? I mean, they should get danger pay for being. They should get danger pay for being a running back in that running back room. I mean, they drop like flies every year in and year out, man. I don't know what it is.
And you always think this is gonna be the year,
Yeah.
the of the world, and then it's like, oh well, there he goes.
Yeah, so exactly. I mean, I in one league I put all my fab money on Elijah Mitchell, and then he just hasn't played since, right? So
I feel a lot of people are like, I want my money back. I want a discount. This item is broken.
Exactly. I didn't get a receipt though. That's my issue. So let's get into some bold stuff, some hotter takes of the week. We got a bold sit each. We got a sleeper start each. I'm going to start off my bold sit, and this one might get me roasted, but I'm okay with it. My bold sit of the week is Saquon Barkley of the New York Giants versus the New Orleans Saints. Yes, I'm not saying you absolutely have to sit him, but just for food for thought here, no one wants to sit their studs. No one wants to sit Saquon, but this might be the week where if you got another guy in a plus matchup and you're unsure, you're 0-3, you need a shot, you need something to get you into that win column, maybe this is the move that you make. Running backs versus the New Orleans Saints are averaging 9 fantasy points per game. On average, 2.5 yards per carry. The Saints defense is 3rd in DVOA. Look, for his value is going to come from the check down passing game. That's where the running backs have succeeded versus the Saints this year. We saw that with Christian McCaffrey in week 2. But I am not approaching this game with confidence as a Saquon Barkley owner. He has more chance to bust than boom on the way the Saints defense has been playing the run. He has a 75% bust rate this week, which is a big number. Like I said, the Saints have been stout against the run. They've been shutting the running backs down. I don't trust Daniel Jones to keep them on the field enough to produce an RB1 day for Saquon Barkley. So for me, roast me if you got to roast me. I can take it, but I'm sitting Saquon just based on what I've seen. My week 4 projections for Mr. Barkley: 12 carries, 55 yards, 3 receptions, 30 yards, and 0.5 TD. So the chances there for him to have a touchdown. I don't trust anything on that Giants team. And the Saints are at home for the first time this year.
Oh, yeah.
So the juice is going to be there for the Saints. The crowd's going to be loud. I mean, it's going to be rocking. I'm rocking the black and gold. I'm excited for the game. But that's the guy to me that I'm not comfortable with. If there's a stud that I want to sit this week, for me, it's Saquon, buddy. You got one for us? What's your bold sit of the week, pal?
I might not get, burned hard for this one, but it's Allen Robinson. I wanted to hold back my take for Allen Robinson earlier. The numbers speak volumes. I mean, he's got 21 targets. He's got 10 catches. He's got nowhere near 50 yards a game. He's got 1 touchdown on the season, and he hasn't had over 11, 12 points all season. That offense looks like it's a David Montgomery kind of a game. So if you have David Montgomery, start him. But Allen Robinson, I'm sitting him. Receivers in fantasy, 12-man leagues, 10-man leagues, there's so many out there. You can find someone to replace a 5-point, 6-point scorer in Allen Robinson. The name is there, yes. If he's Allen Robinson, he's a 1,000-yard receiver with any quarterback. But it just seems like this offense, at least this week, I don't trust it. The pass is just not there yet. Darnell Mooney, if you want to throw him in there, maybe he might be a little good at usage under the middle. But I'm staying away from Allen Robinson at least until next week. See how he does this week. If he does good this week, he pops off. It's like, okay, good. I trust you to start, but he hasn't done anything for me to actually put him in there and start him. So,
yeah, I like that. I mean, I think I'm okay starting A-Rob once Nagy is out the door.
I hope that's this game.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to have the hottest seat. Him and Urban Meyer, actually.
And they're doing it to themselves, yeah.
Did you see the video of Urban Meyer that came out on the weekend there? Oh, man, living in Florida.
You would have thought he was 4-0 or something. I just won the Super Bowl. I'm going to go out.
Yeah, that's going to be his way out the door now. He's going to say he's got to spend time with family, this and that. He's getting all caught up. And, man, it was not a good look for Urban, that's for sure.
Yeah, it looked like he was having a good time. But
he was having a good time. Yeah, he definitely was. I mean, I can't wait the storylines for that one. I mean, NFL, man, never sleeps no matter what. Mike B, is Nick Chubb going to have back-to-back bust weeks? I don't see it happening. I hope he doesn't become this TD dependent guy. I hope Cleveland Browns don't start to roll with a hot hand approach and give Kareem Hunt more of the ball. We saw that his usage was there last week. He still saw a good amount of carries. The yardage was there. I think he ended up with 86 yards. Yes, a TD would have saved his day, but like again, the usage is there. My only worry is if it gets into a bit of a shootout with the Vikings, which it has the potential to turn out to be. Does the running back take a little bit, especially his style, where Kareem Hunt would be more valuable because he's the pass catching guy? Does Nick Chubb take a bit of a back seat? I don't see him having back-to-back bust weeks, so I'm okay starting Nick Chubb. You agree with that?
Oh yeah, I drafted him 7th overall in a lot of leagues. Honestly, like you said, the first 2 games, he had 15 carries, 11 carries. He had 95 yards, 83 yards, but he had the 2 touchdowns for week 1 in week 2. So he salvaged him a good day. Yes, he had 22 carries, 84 yards against what I think is a stout defensive line in Chicago. So I'm not going to hate him for it. He did still see, I believe, 51% of the shares compared to Kareem Hunt's 49. So it's going to be, we knew it was going to be like, we know Nick Chubb's going to share Kareem Hunt. He's got the bigger catch radius, but Nick Chubb, I feel like, can get you 25 carries this game against what is a good defensive line for them too, linebackers. But I think Nick Chubb goes for at least 25 carries, maybe 80, close to 100 yards, and I would say 0.5 in the touchdowns. I think this is more of like a high yardage touch game for him, and then he might get that late touchdown. But I'm not going to bust him, yet. He's still doing
Not
good.
yet.
Yeah, he's still my guy.
He still sees his shares.
Because when he has those games where he's rushing, maybe he has like a Derrick Henry kind of game where 150, 200-yard game, and you're like, wow, I can't believe I called this guy a bust,
Exactly. I agree with that. All right, let's get into our sleeper starts of the week. You want to lead us off with your guy that you're expecting to go off, that not too many people are high on this week.
Right. It's Cordero Patterson. He's a running back or he's a receiver. Yahoo has him as both. ESPN has him as just running back. And for a running back to be your receiver, he had 7 catches. He's averaging almost 6-7 catches a game right now, and he's averaging at least close to 10 carries. He ranks top 15 in reception, like as a receiver in PPR. So he's a top 15 receiver while being a top 25 back. So that's kind of like a dual threat thing. He's had a touchdown rushing or receiving last week against the Bucs. Cordero Patterson's a guy that it's not pretty. You seem wrong starting him as a running back when you know his number is 84. He's like, this guy's a receiver and a return man. He's the Kareem Hunt, basically, like the guy that can play out there for you or the guy that can play in backfield. Mike Davis is starting to slowly dip. He's getting the carries still, but he's not producing the numbers you want to make him the running back one. Yeah. And if you have a running back in Cordero Patterson that's getting 5 catches a game, you're fine with that. And an Atlanta team that doesn't really want to run the ball and they have all these pass catchers, kind of seems to fit the mantra of what they want to do with him, opposed to what they want to do with Mike Davis. Because like you said, in Carolina, Mike Davis was CMC, but just 150 pounds more.
Yeah, exactly.
I just think Cordero Patterson, if you need a running back to a flex, he's been pretty good. He's averaging 17 points in PPR. That's running back 2 numbers. That's running back 3 flex. So that's an easy start for me. But a lot of people are kind of weary because it doesn't seem right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and the Falcons are never really in a position to run the ball down people's throats either. So Mike Davis's value kind of sinks there, and that's where Cordero becomes a little more valuable. I mean, it's finally nice to see him
after 10 years.
Yeah, he's just been one of those guys every year that you draft at the back end of your drafts, and you're hoping this is the year, this is the year, this is the year. From Minnesota to New England, he was on, and now finally he's getting a decent shot in the Falcons offense. I like it, Stefan. My sleeper start of the week is Washington quarterback Taylor Heineke. He's been decent with with Ryan Fitzpatrick out. I think he's averaged about 23 fantasy points per game where he started. So that's great numbers for a streaming option. Week 4, he's got a plus matchup against the Atlanta Falcons, who have allowed 8 passing touchdowns and 0 interceptions on the season.
Wow.
Atlanta is number 4 in rushing yards allowed to quarterbacks. Jalen Hurts, 62 week 1. Daniel Jones, 39 week 2. So that's something we've seen Taylor Heineke kind of adapt into his game, where he's not afraid to break off and run the ball as a quarterback. So given that, plus his opportunity to pass the ball in a game where they are playing a team like the Falcons, who have been absolutely atrocious this year, I'm okay starting Taylor Heineke. I'm okay streaming Taylor Heineke. If you're in a 2 QB league, a super flex league, he's a guy that I'm safe plugging in there, just based on his plus matchup. The matchup is huge for this one. He's a guy that I'm firing up for that Washington offense, as well as Terry McLaurin. Now, in that backfield, you have Gibson, who's been on the injury report all week. You have J.D. McKissick, who is one of the best pass-catching running backs in the league. And then you got Curtis Samuel coming back as well. Does Curtis Samuel warrant a start in his first week back into that offense? And does that ultimately affect maybe a guy like J.D. McKissick?
I like Curtis Samuel and what he did in the Carolina. Rivera's back with him again. So I think I'm okay with starting him this week if you have to. I'm also okay with benching him. I do personally have him in like an IR spot in one of my leagues. So like I was okay with leaving him on the bench to see if he could do well. It's Scary Terry and it's Curtis Samuel, the two OSU guys. You know, they have a chemistry together. They have that rhythm, you know. Yeah. So I think this week I want to sit back and see against a very favorable matchup against Atlanta. Bird wasn't really the number 2 that they wanted. You know, Logan Thomas is Logan Thomas. Scary Terry is Scary Terry. But Curtis Samuel is going to bring that third dimension to that team, to where you have him as a running back, a slot guy, a motion guy.
Gadget guy, yep.
So a gadget guy that maybe not, like I said, not this week if you're okay with it, but next week and going forward, if Heineke can get that rapport and they can get something going, Samuel could be a difference maker. And Heineke has been, like you said, a good guy. I mean, he's putting up numbers and he's getting his target back. Another guy who can produce, so his numbers could even go even better than what they are now.
Yeah, so. Exactly. Yep, I like him. He's been playing decent for fantasy owners.
He's not a hot name though. No one likes the name Heineke, you know.
Exactly, so. Heineken. Yes.
Yeah.
We got any more questions here? Shed Sports. James White is done. Is Damien Harris worth a start? I think he's worth a start. With James White out of the fold, he should see a little bit more of an opportunity share in that offense. I'm looking at the New England Patriots game plan this week, as they're going to try to keep Tom Brady off the field. So they're going to want to run the ball a bit more. They're going to rely on the running game, which they got some decent guys in Damien Harris, Brandon Bolden, JJ Taylor. And is Ramondre called up? Is he active for today's game?
Ramondre Stevenson?
Yeah.
I think that, I don't know if they're going to have him active. I haven't seen the official report yet. We will let you guys know if he does, though.
Yeah. Yep.
But you just named so many running backs.
It's a heavy running back room, but if I'm starting one out of the 3 or 4, I think I'm starting Damien Harris. Yeah. I think he's worth a start just based on what his volume is going to be.
And they have a good offensive line in New England, so we're not going to say that. So if Harris can get it going, maybe I think they dialed him back the last few weeks because they abused him. They said week 1, and then he was so exhausted. I don't think he was in shape yet to the point where he wants to be. So maybe this is the game he comes back and has, you know, a 15 carry, 60, 70-yard game, maybe a touchdown, maybe a few receptions. But it's one of those, is it a flex or RB2 thing? If it's a flex, okay, RB2. If there's not a better option, then I hope he gets you 10 points.
Yeah, good luck. Thank you. Boss Man Fat, Jonathan Taylor, Melvin Gordon, or Naheem Heinz. I think I'm taking Melvin Gordon out of this list, and I'm starting Jonathan Taylor over Heinz in full PPR. Even though full PPR, Heinz is a very intriguing option. I still like JT in that offense.
Yeah, volume speaks truth for JT. I think he's had a lot of slump games where he's just been nothing but subpar. I think going forward, it's going to be JT more than Naheem Heinz. If they're down by a lot, yeah, Naheem Heinz would be the guy because he can't really rush the ball like JT, but JT can't really catch like Naheem Heinz can. Yep. Also, the Melvin Gordon thing, Javonte Williams is what the problem is in there, and he's
at his heels.
Exactly, and like we're coming into the season saying Javonte or Trey Sermon. Javonte Williams is the one that's taking the reign, unlike the other guy in San Francisco. So
yep. And Mel G's been on the injury report all week as well. He's been limited, so that's another thing. He might be on a snap count.
Potential Javonte Williams breakout game.
I like it. I like it. The Doge Life Flex full PPR, Saquon, Deebo Samuel, or Amari Cooper.
It's a great freaking problem to have.
Yeah. I mean, I spoke about Saquon. I'm not comfortable starting Saquon this week. His value is going to come from the check down game. I don't think Daniel Jones is going to do enough to keep them on the field to produce a stud out of Saquon this week. I think I'm going to go here Deebo Samuel over Amari Cooper and Saquon Barkley.
I think I'm going to go Amari, Deebo. I'm going to go reverse. Amari, Deebo, Saquon. I think Amari bounces back because he had the injury-ridden game last week. So I think he comes back and has a decent game with Dak. Deebo Samuel, I think the whole Kittle injury, makes it more for Ayuk, Deebo Samuel kind of a game. Saquon, like you said, I'm on board with you with the Saquon, benching. I just don't trust it yet, and who knows? Who knows what the offense is going to do? So it's a good problem to have. So, you can't go wrong, but those are the three I'd go in that order.
Like it. Thanks, Doge. Life. Big George. D-Hop, Marquis Brown, AB, or Mike Davis? Ooh.
No Mike Davis. I'll just say that right now.
Let's take Davis out. D-Hop has an intriguing matchup versus the Rams secondary, so that's going to be a tough one. Marquise Brown, again, playing Denver Broncos, haven't allowed too much to the wide receivers. Teams versus the Broncos are only averaging 13 points a game, and the Jets, they put up a donut last week. So I'm not expecting a lot out of wide receivers versus them. We're taking Mike Davis out, and then it's AB. Now, are you comfortable starting Antonio Brown over DeAndre Hopkins? Tough one, right? You got to start Hop, right?
He's a guy. I don't care if you put Darrelle Revis in his prime on Hopkins. I have to start him because you don't take him so high to bench him, especially in a week like this, because you're scared. Jalen Ramsey is there, but I think Hopkins can get you receiver 2 numbers.
Yep.
So he's more of a guy I would start over Marquise Brown and AB, but I would put Hopkins, AB, Marquise Brown.
Yeah, I like that. Thanks, Big George. Mikey B, start Herbert over Dak this week, right? So Herbert, who are the Chargers playing? Off by hand?
They play Vegas on Monday night.
Oh, they got the Monday night one, yeah.
In LA. Right.
In LA, and then Dak versus Carolina.
I think Justin Herbert only because Carolina's defense has been pretty good. They just signed CJ Henderson. They did lose Jace Horn for a few months, but that defense is not the best. It's actually the best almost, yeah.
They can get after the QB too. So I'm going to go, I like the Herbert over Dak this week. Start Herbert over Dak.
Herbert seems more fluid now. He seems like he's going to get Mike Williams involved more and Keenan Allen, so it's crazy.
Yeah, Keenan Allen's playing, so that's another big one. Yeah, Herbert over Dak. Thank you. All right, man. I think that's the show. I don't know if we have any more questions. I think that's it for us. Bursch, let them know where they can find you, buddy.
You can find me on Twitter at the Bears. You can find me on Instagram, the Bears. Bears Bombs is my uSTADIUM handle. I'm gonna be on Tuesdays as well. Hopefully more Sundays with you, Chris. This is what it is. I mean, if you guys have any questions on uSTADIUMs, the Bears, anything you want to ask, 12-man leagues, any leagues, PPR, it's all I like to do is answer questions, give you guys advice. If I have a few wrong here and there, don't fault me, but I'm giving you my best opinion on everything. So if you have any questions, please hit me up.
I think it's hard to hit 100 in this. So much can go wrong, right?
I know.
Like DJ Shark breaking his ankle.
And you feel so bad when you tell someone to start someone and they go like, "Oh, I'm so sorry for that one."
Yeah, I get it. So Kembo Films, start one running back and a flex. I'm guessing that's Miles Sanders, Chuba Hubbard, Cordero Patterson, and Debo. I'm good with Chuba Hubbard and Debo Samuel. Are you good with that?
Yep. I don't want to copy. It sounds like scripted.
No, it's good. It's good that we agree, so we don't throw these guys through a loop here. So it's good that we agree.
Chuba is going to be. They said McCaffrey might come back next week. I don't know if that's true or not, but Hubbard is the guy to start every week. Debo is the receiver one on that team until Ayuk can wake up. But even then, those two guys every week starters until McCaffrey comes back for Hubbard.
Yeah, Miles Sanders. I mean, wasn't a
true carries on Monday night.
Wasn't a great look last week. Hopefully Sirianni decides to change his game plan a little bit and run the ball. But, I mean, we'll see, man. Philosophies are philosophies, right? It's hard to change those. But, again, you can find me on the uSTADIUM app. Go download it. You can find us on Twitter at uSTADIUM Fantasy. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you on Tuesday for the waivers show. Good luck, and I hope that the fantasy gods keep all your players safe. See you later.